Hi, it's Lucy from Catching Rainbows. A couple of apologies. First of all, yes, still wearing the headscarf. I'm thinking it's quite cute, but also genuinely, I really need a haircut. So what's happening under here is not good. So I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way because I know that this might be a little distracting during the video. But anyway, I haven't done a video for a little while and I wanted to talk to you about pregnancy envy and jealousy, because it's rife and it's difficult and we have to work out how to deal with it because it's a real thing. So what happens is we're just actually trying to pull ourselves together. We are trying to cope with life when actually there's this aching, there's this yearning, there's this difficulty that we're dealing with on an everyday basis, and it's taking a lot of energy just to cope with trying to live the normal everyday stuff when you're actually going through anything to do with a fertility problem. And you're just scrolling through Facebook and bam, the scam picture, the announcement, or you're sat at work and you just can sense the little gaggle of women erupting into joyful hoots and knowing that any minute now a scam picture is going to be thrust in your hand and you're going to have to fight back the tears and say congratulations, and that takes an awful lot of energy. And don't you find that they just continue to talk like about how it didn't take them any time at all and they were really surprised because they only tried like a couple of times, and just think, oh please stop talking because you're making it so much harder for me. It's really hard already. And that's what tends to happen, is then we start to feel jealousy, we are hurt, we are full of rage, we're irritated, bitter, resentful, and we don't relate to those feelings. That's not what you're normally like. So it's horrible to have those feelings. Actually, some women, it's not unusual to think, do you know what, I hope that it doesn't work out. And then you berate yourself because you feel like a really horrible person. And I'm not saying that everybody thinks that and that we mean it. I'm saying that it's a thing that can happen, and I don't want you to beat yourself up for it, because what happens is really a non-emotive part of our brain that's just very logical will automatically start to explore potential answers to a problem that we're currently having. And that's a logical response from that part of your brain, is because that would make it go away. But honestly, I have looked after women in sessions when they've come in and said, gosh, I wished that it would not work out, and then it didn't, and now I feel really even more horrible than I already did. And of course I didn't wish that on her. Of course I don't want that. Because of course you don't. You're a lovely, beautiful, warm, nurturing, maternal woman, and that's why you're feeling all this stuff. That's why you ache for them. It's why you miss them. It's why you want this baby in your life so much, and why it really hurts when somebody else is pregnant before you. So what it does is it also brings up the anger and the rage and the frustration, which, although are really uncomfortable feelings, sometimes we kind of need them to keep going. And it's not a good thing, it's not a nice thing, but you know what? It reminds us what we want, which our bodies need to know. And the rage and the anger gives us a sense of self-deserving, like it should be me. And it should be you, absolutely should be you. And you need to remember that. You need to know that, you need to feel it. And sometimes when we have these reactions, that's a protective mechanism. That's our body fighting for that survival to keep us on the page of, yeah, it should be me. I do need to keep going. And I think what often happens is we might land in a heap on a friend or on our partner or our mum. And they just tend to say, you know what, love, you can't think like that. You have to be positive. And it just doesn't do anything. What it does is it means the emotion has to stay inside, and then we have to swallow it down, when what we need to do is get it out. So finding a way to allow yourself to get that emotion out. So my first piece of advice would be to don't push it away. You're going to feel jealous. You're going to feel hate. You're going to feel rage. You're going to feel upset and sad, and whatever combination you feel, don't fight it. Just let it be, and say it out loud or journal it or whatever you need to, but just that acknowledgement of, yeah, I'm really jealous. This fucking sucks, because it really does. It's so unfair. It's so cruel. And it's okay for you to say that over and over again, because it softens the edges of that emotion. Stress is never really a problem unless we choose not to deal with it well. So when we try to push the emotions away or buffer them in something fluffy, we're still feeling it here. So it's really, really helpful when you can just acknowledge, okay, this is taking me to a dark place today. So I need to rein things in. I need lots of self-care. I just need to be kind to myself until the feelings start to get a little bit lighter again. These senses of frustration and rage, they do fuel us somehow to keep going, because this is a fight that you are having at this time. It's not going to be your whole life. It's a fight that you're having to do for this section of your life, and it's just something that we have to do. Like if you become ill, you have to fight the illness, don't you? You have to work with your body to heal, and this really isn't any different. It's something that we have to work through, something that we have to overcome, in whichever way that's going to be for us. So that's my first bit of advice, is acknowledge it and let it be. Don't try to push it away. Just let yourself feel it, and it will pass. It's just an emotion. It will pass through you, I promise, and it will feel lighter in a day or two. Second piece of advice is, don't put yourself through things that are unnecessary. So you don't have to go to that baby shower. You don't have to go out for a family lunch on a day where you're having a black day. You don't have to justify yourself. You can let people know or not let people know, but it's okay to be as you are, and the people around you need to accept that sometimes you might act a little Fruit Loopy, you know? That's kind of how we are when we're going through this, and there's no point them trying to change that in us. It's much better if they just accommodate that that's how we need to exist right now. My third piece of advice is something that's really difficult, is when someone's having a baby and you have to go out and buy the obligatory present and card. And I think when you're going out specifically with them in mind, it can be more painful. And actually, if you buy a job lot of something and shove it in a drawer, like order something on Amazon, like a little pack of muslins or a pack of little onesies or something that you don't particularly like that much, maybe, that you can almost just wrap up in advance, shove in a drawer, buy a batch of cards, just so that you've always got a stash. And it's just a little bit gentler than having to go out to the shops with that intention, with this news, with all the emotion that goes with it. It just takes the edge off. I mean, that might not work for everyone, but it does work for some, and it just makes it a tiny bit softer and gentler. The other thing that I kind of wanted to bring into this is, remember, you're not on their path. They're having their struggles in a different way. They may have struggles with birth or with breastfeeding or with postnatal depression or something else. You might have struggles with your fertility, and then everything else go like an absolute dream. So everyone will have their own struggles, but they are different and they come in a different context. And it is also my understanding, after 10 years of doing this job, that the world is evolving, and people coming into this world right now need the kind of parents who have good life skills, who have come through stuff and challenges, and they have evolved, and they are wise, and they're ready to raise children in a way that is nurturing and empathic and loving and respectful, kind. You know, there are lots of families out there with their 2.4 children and their tick box life. They're doing everything that they feel they should on the list, but they aren't okay. They're not anything other than usually just a bit dissatisfied, a bit frustrated, a bit irritated. They're normally planning the next holiday, or planning the next thing, or annoyed about the next thing. They don't seem to be blissfully happy in it, you know. They don't seem to have this joy And I think what happens when you go through something really difficult, like infertility or anything really that challenges you, you build up a sort of karmic bank of energy. And every time you go through something that's really dark and difficult, it banks something for you, so that when things get better, when things turn a corner, every experience that you have, it pays back from this bank. You get like this massive payout of, wow, that moment is now 100 times more joyful than it would have been. My perspective is different, my journey is different, my thoughts, everything is different, and it doesn't make it okay. It's no consolation, but you are on a different path. You are of a different ilk. You are going to be a different kind of parent, and this is preparing you for that. And as I say, it doesn't make it any less painful. It's a really, really, really hard thing to go through, and it's incredibly painful. But it does help sometimes to think, I might envy what they have, but I don't envy them. I don't want to be them. I don't want their life. I don't want to be like one of the mums watching their kid in assembly and looking at a watch, waiting, until you can get on, And I've done this. I've sat in that assembly and looked at all the parents irritated that the school have called them in to watch their kid for 5 minutes in a little show. And they're wondering, come on, when are they coming in? And I've got to be somewhere and I've got things to do. They're not soaking up any of that. And it's not all of them. It's not generic. It's not a general sweeping statement. I'm just saying that we're all on our little paths, and there is something amazing about coming through a big crisis or a big trauma, and the way that affects the kind of life that you can have after that. So I don't personally believe that infertility is pointless, needless, endless suffering. I think there's the reason behind it, and there's a place that we're going with it. So be kind to yourself, acknowledge the emotions, sit with them, don't do things that make it harder, unfollow all those bastards on Facebook that are just reeling off the bump pictures and the scam pictures and the stuff that is just too painful to see. And stay on your path. Be true to who you are and what you need. You'll find your way, however that's going to be. And if we can help at Catching Rainbows, of course, get in touch. Check out our website, and also if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the little notifications bell. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.